Chen Du suddenly recalled that teacher Ling Yun only ever used a rotating variety of weapons whenever they sparred in martial arts class. Even now, he had no idea what the teacher's primary weapon actually was, and he realized with a start that he had completely overlooked that crucial detail. This realization forced him to conclude that he needed to be far more cautious from this point forward. Gripping the badge, Chen Du repeated his demand to know Wu Zhang's whereabouts. He then tossed the badge onto the muddy ground and coldly stated that he had absolutely no interest in such trinkets. His only goal was to find and fight Wu Zhang. Watching the badge lay forgotten in the dirt, one of the other students finally grasped Chen Du's true intentions. It became clear to him that the only reason Chen Du had even entered the 100-city hegemony tournament was to hunt down Wu Zhang. Zhang Shuai pulled out a map with an irritated huff. He pointed to a section and explained that they had spotted Wu Zhang earlier heading in the opposite direction. His target was the star mark located behind them, but they had been intercepted by a pack of BB wolves along the way. As he studied the map, Chen Du processed Zhang Shuai's information. If they had encountered wolves in the middle of the path, it meant there was a significant flaw in the straight-line navigation provided by the officials. Zhang Shuai added that Wu Zhang had likely moved from his previous spot, though he was undoubtedly still lingering near the star mark. Without another word, Chen Du moved with blinding speed. He struck the back of the students' necks one by one, rendering them unconscious while telling them to leave their badges behind and exit the trial. Before Zhang Shuai drifted into unconsciousness, he cursed bitterly in his mind, unable to utter a single word. Chen Du looked down at the fallen group in silence before coldly remarking that he was only doing them a favor in exchange for the directions they had provided earlier. Suddenly, the teacher of the three students emerged from the shadows. He glared at Chen Du, calling him a talented but unprincipled fighter who went back on his word and possessed no martial ethics whatsoever. Hearing this from his hiding spot in the tall grass, Morit's ears began to ring with anger. Though he tried to restrain himself, he eventually shouted back at the teacher, demanding to know what he meant by accusing them of having no ethics. In that moment, Chen Du realized that this man was the team leader of the MI City team, which meant they had nothing to fear. He coldly pointed out that what their team had done was a clear case of deception. As the moments passed, the full weight of the situation finally dawned on Morit. He realized they had been set up because they held the martial character badge. In Morit's mind, it was obvious that the MI City team's goal was to hoard both badges through underhanded means. Lu Bo understood the situation as well. They had been targeted by the enemy specifically so that every single badge could be stripped away from them. Amidst the lingering tension, Morit asked if Chen Du still intended to challenge Wu Zhang in his current state. Chen Du fell silent for a moment as he stared intensely at the map. When Morit pressed him again for an answer, Chen Du finally spoke. He admitted that he was calling off the hunt for now. His stamina was depleted and his mental focus was fading. He knew he was in no condition to face Wu Zhang, who was a top-tier, Tier 1 perfect expert. Even fighting someone at 89% of Tier 1 had pushed him to his limits. However, he had managed to confirm Wu Zhang's general location, and that was enough for him. His original plan was to avoid perfect-level experts entirely, but he never expected their luck to be so good that they would end up collecting every single badge. Pointing toward their next destination, Chen Du declared that they were heading straight to Moon Park to submit their badges and finish the first round of the competition. He traced the route they would follow with his hand. Morit and Lu Bo exchanged confused glances and asked why they had to take that specific path. Chen Du explained that they needed to take a detour because he had sensed something off from the very beginning. To him, the rules for obtaining the badges seemed far too simple. While the organizers had claimed the badge locations were safe, he suspected there was a hidden deception behind it all. He also brought up the directions Zhang Shuai had given regarding Wu Zhang. When Zhang Shuai mentioned the word midway, Chen Du asked his teammates if that didn't strike them as suspicious. It was then that Lu Bo finally caught on to Chen Du's line of reasoning. Morit added that the true challenge of securing a badge wasn't the destination itself, but the perilous journey required to get there. Chen Du further explained that the entire forest wolf woods seemed intentionally designed to disorient participants, especially those trying to avoid the wolf dens. Taking the route closer to the 2-star marks was the most reliable path, but it was also the most dangerous because it significantly increased the odds of running into rival teams. For Chen Du, it was clear that this was a meticulously crafted competition. Any team lacking sufficient strength, unless they were incredibly lucky, would never reach the moon mark even if they managed to snag 2 badges. He warned them that until the assessment was officially over, they couldn't afford to relax. Morit and Lu Bo finally understood the gravity of their situation. However, they suddenly flinched and retreated when something stirred in the tall grass. A figure slowly emerged, and as Chen Du braced himself, he cursed inwardly at the sight before them. They had just crossed paths with the High City team, which featured one of the two perfect level experts. Chen Du realized that just as they were nearing the finish line, they had plummeted into an even more lethal scenario. Ku Zongtian came to a halt in front of them. In that moment, Chen Du sensed not only a powerful sword intent but also that this man could feel his own strength. There was no doubt, this was the Tier 1 perfect expert, Ku Zongtian. Ku Zongtian dropped a large crate, and from it, 6 swords emerged. Chen Du's group immediately braced for a fight. But just as tensions peaked, a voice rang out, commanding Ku Zongtian to stop. It was Zhou Xiaogu. She pointed out that based on the blood coating the group, they had clearly just finished a grueling battle against BB wolves. She argued that if they fought now, a victory wouldn't be fair or honorable. Zhou Xiaogu smiled as she looked at Chen Du. She remarked that she hadn't expected to find another Tier 1 perfect expert besides Wu Zhang. However, she confidently stated that whether it was Chen Du or Wu Zhang, she intended to defeat them both in the next 2 rounds of the competition. She boasted that their High City team had been champions for 9 consecutive years, and no one would stop them from claiming their 10th straight title. With that, the two began to walk away. As they departed, Lu Bo commented on Zhou Xiaogu's behavior, noting that he hadn't expected her to have the noble spirit of a great hero. When Chen Du heard this, his expression shifted. In his mind, he couldn't reconcile Lu Bo's description with the Zhou Xiaogu he knew. To him, the woman who seemed more like someone selling dangerous contraband was a far cry from a great hero. In fact, he found the comparison almost laughable. Meanwhile, as the two walked further away, Ku Zongtian questioned Zhou Xiaogu. He admitted he was surprised to hear her talk about a dishonorable win. To him, exploiting an enemy's weakness to finish them off was a legitimate combat strategy, a way to ensure the opponent had no room to breathe. He knew that ruthless efficiency was Zhou Xiaogu's true style. Zhou Xiaogu's cheeks flushed slightly as she replied that they were currently on a live broadcast, and she had to maintain a good public image. Later that night, following the first round of the badge snatch battle, Chen Du returned to his hotel. He sighed with relief as he fell onto his bed. His body was heavy with exhaustion after another day of intense training, refining his mental power through the Boy emotion visualization method. Currently, 50 teams, totaling 150 students, had passed the first round. He calculated that he would need to defeat approximately 4 opponents the next day to advance to the third round. His mental power was currently at level 9. He believed that as long as he could eliminate every monster in the 7th wave, he would reach level 10. He knew that once his mental power hit level 10, it would undergo a qualitative transformation. As he slowly closed his eyes, one final thought lingered. If he could reach that level, he would become the undisputed number 1 in the entire competition.
The chapter ends here. Watch out for our upcoming uploads. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you'll always be updated on our future videos.